Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show is brought to you by DKI Canada. Across the street, across the country. He is one of the toughest and most intimidating dudes to ever lace up the blades. He's also the star of the small screen, John Nasty Mirasty. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Our guest today hails from Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan. 5'10", 229-pound left winger. He played in the SJHL, the WHL, played 14 pro seasons in the ECHL, AHL, UHL, KHL, LNAH. That was a tough league. Had 358 penalty minutes in one season at Bakersfield, over 400 fights in pro hockey. A former provincial champion boxer, professional MMA fighter, a regular on the show Shoresy, a council member for the Flying Dust First Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program, John Nasty Mirasty. Great to have you here, John.
Thanks for having me, Joe. It's awesome.
So tell us about growing up on the reservation and how that led to you in a career in pro hockey and ultimately on TV.
Just opportunities always arise, right? You never, always take off opportunities that come about you. And, as a young kid, obviously being a Canadian kid growing up on the reserve, I wanted to play hockey. I wanted to be someone like Wayne Gretzky, but I think the opposite of that happened. As a younger player, I was a lot more skilled than I was when I got into the junior ranks. I was one of the better players all the time. And, a lot of support from my dad. Would travel all over the province and then take me to games and tournaments. And, just like any other kid, just wanted to play hockey and make a career out of it. And, I could say about 40 years later, 30 years later, it was a great ride. And now it's time to relax.
You come by your athletic ability naturally. You talked about your dad being an athlete. We had your Uncle Rick on the show, very successful lawyer who was a former amateur boxer, great baseball player. He's had a real positive impact on the Indigenous community, and he touched on his athletic and fighting prowess on the show. Let's listen to that, Vic.
I played fastball. I played hockey. I didn't start playing hockey until I was 15 years old, but I tried out played junior B in Southern Alberta. Just open doors. I always think that sports is a great equalizer. I was one of the few Native kids that played all of the high school sports in Meadow Lake. So it gained you acceptance with the community and gained you recognition. They sponsored me, the local Legion sponsored me to go to track camp in Dundurn. Military camp. We didn't have any money, so there's no way I could go there. But those things that opened doors for me. I bounced at a bar, at a cabaret, Londonderry Cabaret, with a guy named Wayne Hayes, who I think he went to school with.
Oh, yes.
And yes, plain Wayne Hayes. So Wayne was boxing at the Native Boys Boxing Club, and he said, "Why don't you come and join us? Come and train. Come and hit the bag." And so I went there. And then, but I had earlier met Gordon at a dance, and somebody had sucker punched me outside the dance, and I wiped him out in about 30 seconds. And Gordon told me, "You need to take that in the ring. You shouldn't do that on the street." And I said, "Yeah, whatever." So here, fast forward about 6 months. 6 months later, I showed up at his gym with Wayne Hayes. So he said, "Oh, I remember."
Right. So that was Rick's story. He was quick to point out, by the way, that he was the original Nasty Mirasty. That's what we knew him as, Rick Nasty Mirasty.
I get that comment. I get that comment quite a bit, but we'll have to fight for it, I guess.
Yeah. So, what does your story relate to Rick's at all in terms of the community and using athletics as a way to sort of launch yourself out of that environment or into something better?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think Rick had it a lot harder than I did, growing up kind of an orphan. I think his cookum raised him and stuff. So it's really, really impressive to see where he is today, for how successful he became with, having a pretty rough childhood and even a rough, to his teenager years. So I think he did a complete 360 and like any other younger kid that doesn't have many opportunities, used himself to be able to, and his sport talent to be able to achieve, higher success. And I mean, it's no secret with me with Shoresy, I would have never had that opportunity if I didn't have the hockey career that I had. Playing junior, same thing, I got recognized playing senior hockey. I didn't do it the traditional way, get drafted into the Western Hockey League. And, I was actually playing senior hockey when I was 15 years old and fighting men. And that's how I actually got noticed and ended up getting invited to the Kindersley Clippers in the SJHL. And, a year there, and, I did what I had to do. And next thing you know, I was getting into Western League teams calling me. And, I've always took the untraditional route to the next level. And I kind of prize myself upon that, same thing, playing in the LNAH 1 year, which is basically a glorified senior league. And, the following year I was on an NHL ice surface with the Columbus Blue Jackets playing some preseason games. So very different route that I took to get to where I got, not the way that the normal hockey player would go. So it's been pretty special for me.
We saw a picture there of you and Rick told us that was a picture that was taken when you were just heading off to go play junior hockey. And at the time, you were as you mentioned, you were a skilled player. How did you transfer from that skill role to the fighting business? And what was it, a smooth transaction? What happened? Like, what was it that caught the eye of your coaches?
You could probably blame it on my older cousins. I had two older cousins that played semi-pro hockey, Leon Delorme and Carlin Nordstrom. And both guys, that's what they kind of did at that level was, Leon played in the East Coast Hockey League was the highest he got. But, he was out there to fight. And I was, I think, 15 years old going to my first junior camp. And here they were lining me up, because they were already playing pro and kind of skating with the junior teams, just getting ready to go to their camps. And basically lining me up to fight all the 20-year-olds on the other team. And I fared pretty well, I guess you could say. And that's kind of how I got my foot into the door. And rather than making it playing hockey and scoring goals, I was dropping the mitts. And but like I said, it was a really important role to me, a special role. And if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, it's worked out pretty well for you. I noticed impressive number of scraps in your first year junior in Kindersley for the Clippers, 318 minutes. Did that get you noticed?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's a pretty long time ago, but I can't really remember back that far. But I just remember that summer getting a call from the Prince Albert Raiders after my first junior year. And they basically just said, we wanted the toughest guy that played in the SJHL and that was young enough to make the next step to the Western League. So, lo and behold, the next season I was put at the PA Raiders, and it was kind of cool because, both PA and Saskatoon are the closest cities to where I grew up as a young kid. So it was kind of neat to be able to play in those arenas and enjoy myself.
Yeah. The Western League career, the PA Raiders, as you said, Tri-City Americans, Moose Jaw Warriors. So you're called up to play in that league, and you're a lot younger than a lot of the guys you're scrapping. Was that ever a concern for you, or what gave you the edge in those scraps?
I think being the underdog, to be honest, even my whole life being a shorter guy, fighting guys that are, 6'5", 6'6", a lot bigger. I'm only stand 5'10", 225 pounds, 230. It fluctuated obviously a lot during my career, but, just being the underdog and always being told I couldn't do it. My whole life I've been kind of doubted, and I think that's what pushes me harder to achieve more success. So, even being a young Indian kid from the reserve to be on national TV and Shoresy is a pretty cool opportunity. And, there's a lot of Indigenous recognition on there with a few of the other guys, the two Nolan brothers, Goody, which would be Andrew and Santa. Just being able to give us an opportunity. And it's very, a lot of that praise would go to Jared Kiesel, who's Shoresy on the show. He's the guy kind of behind everything. And can't say enough about that guy, a wonderful guy, huge Calgary Flames fan. But he's, I think you're an Edmonton guy, so I had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
It's just opened up a lot of opportunities for me. And here we are today, traveling all over the North America with doing appearances and just living a good life and enjoying it. And, a lot of it all comes down to my hockey career, basically.
Yeah, I want to get into the Shoresy stuff in a bit, but I want to go through your career. And so, did you have a favorite scrapper that you patterned yourself after, or a favorite player in general?
Well, I mean, like I said, growing up, it was always, guys like Wayne Gretzky that I looked up to, then Wendell Clark. Got a little bit older, and then I started liking guys like, late Chris Simon, late Gino Ojic, guys that, being First Nation guys that were at that level already kind of, made young kids like myself, say, oh, maybe I have a chance, and worked hard. So, I would say I like Chris Simon, Gino Ojic. I can't leave out Ty Domi. A lot of people always would say, because I'm shorter like him. So, he was pretty successful what he did at that level with the height he had. And, so it's just, everyone that's made it, has something good to bring to the table. And it's not an easy route to make.
Yeah. Ty Domi is a really good analogy. I mean, you and him both powder cakes, like supreme power coming out of those shorter bodies, but, really doing a lot of damage to people along the way. I mean, you were considered by many to be perhaps the toughest guy who ever laced up the blades in pro hockey at any level. What do you think of that kind of praise?
Oh, obviously, it's kind of nice to hear that. But, there's a lot of tough guys there. And no matter if it's even the guys that I didn't like when I played, I mean, it's a tough job to do. And it's not just the physical side of it. It's the mental part is actually the hardest part, I thought, with a lot of the stress that comes along with the games and worrying about who you're fighting next. And, but, just being able to do what I did and being able to entertain the fans at the same time was something very special to me. And, without the fans, I would have never did what I did or made what I made or had the success that I had because, they were kind of what drove me. I love being in the visiting team and getting booed and yelled at, but I obviously knew I was doing something right. So, it's been an awesome ride. And, I really was thankful for the opportunities that I had.
For sure. And you get to the East Coast Hockey League, the Bakersfield Condors, as well as the Greenville Growl and the Elmira Jackals. We got some video here where you're going after the whole bench. It looks like, and I think this was the Kalamazoo Wings you're facing at this particular time. Tell us what's going on here.
Oh, to be honest, I was barely there. I remember that's a thing when I was having a little bit of a rough go with, I guess, disagreement with my team in the American League. So they had sent me to Elmira for a couple games. So I don't even barely remember that. I think I was just pissed off and didn't want to be there. So I was doing something stupid, to be honest.
Okay, so then you end up with the Syracuse Crunch. We've got some action from your time there as well. A scrap with Paul Bissonnette, Biz Nasty, who was playing for Wilkes-Barre at the time. Biz Nasty versus Nasty Mirasty. You gave up a lot of reach here to Biz Nasty, no question, but you clearly got the best of him here. Eventually, he called in the linesman to break it up. So this is just an example of some of the, you're giving up reach to pretty much everybody you fight. Not a problem though. You obviously did well on the inside stuff.
Yeah, I know. I remember I was fighting for the nickname. I told him there's only one Nasty here, and I want to take it from you. But no, looking at someone like Paul and his success is really awesome to see. I think he's 10 times more popular now than he was when he actually played the game, and very good at what he does. And it's really good to see. I love to see guys that have played the game and did what I did, succeed after hockey, because there's a lot of dark stories out there, and you don't always want to. There's fighting, a lot of people want to make them out to be savages and goons and, make them look like really bad people. But at the end of the day, I think some of the enforcers were the best players on the team with, in aspects of giving back to the community, being donations and just being there for younger people to look up to. So, it's good. But, talking about my height and fighting the bigger guys, to be honest, I hated fighting guys my size. I found that they were way tougher, way faster. I enjoyed fighting the big guys like Bugard and McIntyre and all that because they were so big. You could really read the punches a lot easier and had more time to get out of the way.
You rocked that mohawk for a good part of your career. And they put together a feature on you in Syracuse. So, you talked about how the fans were, the influence that your play, you're great to be part of all that stuff. And they loved you, man. They loved you in everywhere you played. And you seem to be smiling during a lot of your scraps. And, and it was, you really built yourself up as a very unique character. Were you enjoying yourself doing this as much as it seemed?
Oh, 100%. I can say, I mean, you hear a few of the guys on these podcasts say they love fighting and, they'd fight anyone, anytime, any place, anywhere. But I'll be honest, a lot of those guys that say that, that's a nice picture. You have to send that to me. Me and Tom Sestito. I'll make fun of his little girl body. But anyways, I can truly say, I mean, it was obviously a lot of fear in that smile because, I hated the better I got and the older I got, I was starting to lose the fear because I was always doing so well. And that's where I feel that I let a little bit of the edge out because, when you're scared and you're nervous, and you're fighting for your life, I think you fight a lot harder. So yeah, I'd smile up, but obviously behind that smile, there was some nerves going really hard and you just don't want to let people show it. And I remember my very first pro game, it was in Bakersfield in the East Coast Hockey League. And it was my first game of the year. And I was just a young 20-year-old kid and I got in a fight with one of their big captain at the time. And he was a full grown man. And I was just young guy. And I smiled the whole way and beat him up pretty good. And I remember that after the game, the coach called me in the office and he said, if you keep smiling like that in all your fights, you're going to make a lot of money and go to a lot of places with this game. So I think he was kind of true when I did that. I got a lot of good opportunity.
Yeah, the smiling killer. So you had a stint with Fort Wayne Comets of the Central Hockey League. And actually, we have a clip from this is what you had to say when you joined that club.
Wayne is a great city, and I look forward to playing here.
All right, you heard a lot of things. This feels up pretty good, and I think everybody likes playing in front of big crowds.
Yeah, I've been around for a while, and like I said, right back to my Danbury days and my, when I was younger, there's always good things to say about Fort Wayne. How they get good fan support. The organization and the franchise itself is great. So, when I found out I was coming here, I thought it was a great opportunity for me.
All right, what are they expecting of you? You talk. What are they looking for you?
Well, I think I'm going to bring a little bit of a physical presence. So, I think the skilled guys could play a little bit more freely. And, I'll also be a little bit of entertainment for the fans. They're a big part of what we do, and they're the ones that pay the salaries. So, it's something to do. I'm just going to bring a big physical presence and throw my body around and see what I can do from there.
So were you able to provide that entertainment and opened up the ice a little bit for your teammates?
I'm sure I did. Like I said, that's another place that I was very, very short stint there. But it's like I said, that's what I do. It's no secret. And, you can give a lot of the younger guys confidence when you're doing that and they know someone's out there to back them up. And it happens at pretty much every level of hockey, whether it's senior hockey up in Northern Saskatchewan or you're playing in the American League or the NHL down south. I feel that it has a very important part of the game and, it just keeps players honest out there. So it's something that I pride myself on.
You mentioned you got into some preseason games with Columbus. Did you ever get close to landing that NHL job?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I maybe came in the league a few years too late. Obviously, when I came in after that first lockout in 04, 05, they were really trying to diminish the role player that was out there just to fight. And, I guess when I play hockey, it's that was obviously my job out there. But, you play senior hockey back home and stuff. And, guys can usually play the game pretty well. It's just when you go up there and you have one thing in your mind that you're going out to hurt people and fight, you don't really focus on trying to score goals. And, but yeah, I had a few opportunities where I had teams that offered me contracts and I kind of denied them or turned them down because I thought otherwise. And I maybe made a few mistakes in my career, with who I would sign with and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's just the relationship that I've made and the places that I've been is what built me. And like I said, it was an awesome career to have.
You also played in the KHL and you're a big hit in Russia as well. We know that. And we actually have a goal you scored for Vityaz Chekhov. And I believe this is your first. You showed some pretty good hands on this play as we watched the replay. Look at that. To the forehand. What a bing.
Well, where's the fight that happened 10 seconds later? That's the video that goes viral right now where the guy is fighting me and he's hitting me and I take my helmet off and smile and I hit him think he hits me 3 times and then I hit him and drop him. It was actually immediately after that goal that it was caught me off guard. It kind of brings up the memory. We were somewhere in Russia, and like I said, in Russia, there wasn't many guys there to fight, and they had brought a guy in to fight me, they had said, but he didn't get a shift the whole game. And I think that was sometime in the middle of the second period or something like that. And I had just scored that goal, and all of a sudden I hear from the bench, someone says, "Hey, he's out there." And it was the guy that they brought in to fight me. So it actually caught me off guard because I was never used to being challenged in Russia. And this young kid, or I shouldn't say young, he was older than I was, but I just remember him lining up and kind of basically just staring at me saying, "We're going." And so we ended up fighting, and that's the one where it's a video that's actually been sent to me every day for the last month. It's been trending lately, but I take my helmet off and I get hit 3 times, smile, and then I hit him once and drop him. So that's how it actually started. I just scored a goal, so they sent someone after me.
No, you did show that you had some hands there in that goal, and of course your hands were used for other reasons. After that, so was the kid that challenged? Was he a Russian kid? Was he from North America? What was the deal with him?
No, it was a kid from Russia. I remember them saying something about how he was an MMA fighter, a boxer, and they basically brought him in just to come after me because we were kind of terrorizing the league at that point. We had myself, Jeremy Yablonsky, Kip Brennan. We were causing a lot of havoc, so I think they were trying to just bring someone in to maybe tame us down or whatever. But I think if anything, that just made me go a little bit meaner.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy stuff back there. Like, we don't know much about the KHL here, but tell us about the league and your experience there and what it was like for you.
To be honest, you hear a lot of negative stories about Russia, but when I was there, I have nothing but good things to say. I mean, I was treated like $1 million when I was there. Everyone was very respectful. You have to go to their country really understanding that that's their house. And I find that us North American people, when we travel there, we compare everything there to here, right? And then when you say, well, in America or in Canada, we have this, and it comes off as really rude where, you're in their house, so you shouldn't tell them how they should operate. But, I had an opportunity to actually party with Vladimir Putin, which was pretty cool, seeing him become how popular he's became the last few years. But, and I'm saying that sarcastically,
right,
but
right.
Yeah, just the opportunities that I've had and being there, I got to hang out with some pretty cool people. I was in Kazakhstan for a year. And no, I didn't ever watch Borat. I get asked that all the time. But to be able to, I remember one time going hunting with the president of Kazakhstan. I can't even remember his name. Sorry, but they took us out to an army base, and I don't know if I can on my social media. I could probably find the image where I shot a wild boar, but the gun I was holding was like a machine gun, and we basically went out and got really drunk in the middle of some, I say desert, but it was cold at the time. Kind of reminded me of southern Saskatchewan, cold and flat and just open. And we sat and ate and drank for about a good 3 hours. And they said, "Okay, let's go hunting." And jumped into a bunch of army vehicles and went and shot a wild pig. So that was a pretty cool experience. I wouldn't call it real hunting, but it was something, just every opportunity that I had there, I got to be and see so many different things. And, I wasn't a guy that went and got an education in university. I did go to university for a bit, but I think all my travels really educated me on life. And it helps me in everything that I do today to this point, being in leadership with Flying Dust First Nation at one point, which I'm no longer there right now. Being in Shoresy and stuff's been pretty busy, so I'm no longer in leadership. I'm sure it'll be something that I'll go back to in a few years. But just in everyday life, I had the opportunity to open a Tim Hortons franchise. I'm in acting. I'm equine therapy program. But everything that I do with those things really, I lean back on my travels, right, to be able to show and tell kids about the journeys that I've been in and the stuff that I've experienced. And it's such a big world out there. There's so much more than what Canada and the USA has to offer. So it was really neat to experience those things.
You brought up equine therapy. Tell us about that. What's your role in that? What have you seen?
Well, I think a lot of people, when they see me on TV or in the news, I don't look like a cowboy, but I've been born and raised around horses. It's one of my biggest pastimes. Very passionate about it, and I've kind of passed that trait on to my kids. My two daughters are horse fanatics. That's all they do is barrel race and ride horses every day. So I have a farm, a horse ranch with about 20, 25 horses. It fluctuates every year.
Mm-hmm.
I have some more. Sometimes I sell some, but I do a lot of traveling to communities, and I work with young Indigenous kids. I shouldn't just say Indigenous. I work with all, the school division, rehab centers, villages, communities. They come out, they either come to my farm or I go to them, and we use horses to kind of get to the kids, especially troubled kids that are trying to get involved in gangs and stuff, because you're not so tough when you're beside a 1,500-pound horse that could basically hurt you in a split second. So it really helps me get to the kids, and you've seen a lot of success stories, with just building confidence, communication skills, becoming leaders. You bring a kid that's not really good at anything and you teach him to be good with horses, and he only comes by himself for the first couple of weeks, and then a few weeks later, I'll bring another group of kids, and that kid will actually pass on those leadership skills because he'll be confident that he's good at something, right? So something that I really pride myself on. It's nice to give back. I grew up on a reserve. I won't say I had the roughest upbringing, but, I went through a family that got divorced and, spent a lot of time as a young man living on my own at a really young age. It's nice to be able to, give these kids opportunities to come to the farm, and I put them to work and I mentor them. But, at the end of the week, I'll always say, okay, well, let's take one of my toys out. Let's go to the lake and go tubing, or let's go quadding or hunting or fishing, or, so to be able to give back to the youth is really special to me.
Yeah, I worked in the rehab area, and I've heard a lot about equine therapy, and they're being involved with myself, but I've heard the results are phenomenal, and it's helping people in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, that's a thing for sure. Yeah.
These damn fires are holding me back, though. I'm actually supposed to be on the road right now with my horses, but there's so many fires in the north, I'm getting postponed everywhere.
Wow. Need some rain.
Yeah.
Need some rain.
Yeah, we need some rain badly up here.
So, I heard a story about you flying across the ocean to fight Josh Gratton when you're in the KHL. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's a long story, but yeah, no, it's that was in 2011, because I remember the years I actually flew back because of my youngest daughter Ava was born. So, anyways, my daughter was born about a month before that, and I obviously got to fly home and spend the birth with my wife and my daughter, and I went back to Russia because I had to finish the season. And about 3-4 weeks later, my wife was going through a little bit of postpartum, I guess you'd call it. And, just having a hard time being a single mother, living on her. She was living at a good friend of mine's, Anthony Lamacchia. He's say a good friend, but he's old enough to be my dad, but he was really a special person to me when we were in New York. And so Anthony allowed her to stay with him. He owned a big car dealership and basically let my wife live with him and his wife, and go to school and finish her nursing degree, but and also assist her because she had a newborn baby, right? So anyways, I was asked about 3 weeks later, my wife was kind of breakdown crying and was having a hard time. So I went to the team management and just said, my wife's having a tough time. Is there a way that I can, go home for a week just to kind of, be with her and get her back in a positive mood? And it was kind of funny because we were having a big game come up that weekend against Boris Astana, who I actually ended up playing for in Kazakhstan that following year. But and they were the only other team that carried a lot of heavyweights. They had Chris Simon and Josh Gratton, and so they were really This game was highlighted on the calendar for the whole season, right? It was an important game, but obviously, like I said, you hear a lot of bad things about the Russian people, but they were very understandable. Our owner, who was basically involved in the Russian mob, he was the guy that said, no, you go home and spend time with your family. That's more important. He says, we'll be okay here. We have, they had Kip Brennan, they had Jeremy Oblonsky. So we had a lot of toughness without me being there. And so long story short is I flew from Russia all the way back to New York, which is not an easy flight. It's about a 14-hour flight.
Wow.
And I remember I landed in New York and I spent I literally got there around supper time and I went for dinner with my wife. And that night, I remember watching on the news, my team had just played in Russia, and it made the sports and all that. We basically had a big brawl, and Jeremy and Kip Brennan had got suspended for like 25 games. So they were basically done for the year. So sure enough, like you remember, I've only been in New York for 3-4 hours. This happened on TV. I'm sleeping at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and my Skype starts going off. And that's how we communicated back then, with Skype.
Yeah.
So it was actually Jeremy Yablonski calling me and says, "Hey man," he says, "did you see what happened tonight?" He says, "We're all suspended. You have to get back here ASAP." And I've only been in New York for, like I said, maybe 8 hours now. Landed, went for dinner, and went to bed. And so I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning on my computer, and he says, "Sasha's going to call you right away." So Sasha was the boss man's, our owner of the team's son, who spoke English. So 5 minutes later, Skype rings again, and it's Sasha. And he's like, "Johnny, you have to get back to Russia right now." And I was like, "Sasha," I said, "are you crazy? I just got here 6 hours ago. My wife will kill me." "Just come," he says, "we'll make it worth your while." So I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning trying to find flights to back to Russia. And of course, because it's such last minute, there was only a first class flight.
Yeah.
It was like 12 grand. And I mean, I was making good money there, but I'm still one of the cheapest guys around. I'm like, I'm not going to spend 12 grand. So I called Sasha, said, "I found one, but it's 12 grand. I said, "I'm not paying it. Just pay it. We'll reimburse you plus some. Don't worry about it." So anyways, I'm 4 in the morning. I'm booking this flight on the computer, trying to wake up my buddies at my house to say, "Hey, I need to get a ride to the airport." And long story short is I ended up getting a flight. And when I left LaGuardia in New York City, I was late on my flight to Warsaw, Poland. And so when I landed in Warsaw, I missed my connecting flight to Moscow. So I called Sasha again. I said, "Sasha, I tried. I missed my connecting flight." No, you have to make it, he said. So, and remember, I've been traveling for like 36 hours already, coming from Russia to New York, from New York back to Russia. And so anyways, I made it to the Moscow airport at like 5 p.m. and the game was at 7. The guys are already at the rink warming up, and I'm at the airport just landing when the guys are already at the rink. And there was some rule in the KHL that I had to be on the ice for warm-ups in order to play the game. So basically I got in these 2 vehicles. There was 2 police cars like this with the Escalade in the middle, and I jumped in, and they took me through the Moscow traffic's like New York City, right? So I got to the game, and the guys were already on the ice warming up. I had to get dressed as fast as I could. I got on the ice and basically came off for warm-ups and fainted. I was so tired and
oh my God.
And then I got called into Alexei Zamnov at the time was our GM, and Andrei Nazarov was our head coach. They called me to the office right before the game was about to start. They said, "Well, you know what we brought you here for? You ready?" And I said, "Yeah, just get me out there. I don't want to play hockey. I'll fight, and I'm leaving." So long story short is me and Josh we fought the first one. I mean, I don't want to brag about it, but I beat him pretty good. His face was pretty beat up. And then served a penalty. And over there, it was only the 2-fight rule. So next shift, I looked at him. I said, we're going again. And he's like, no, let's wait a while. And I'm like, no, we're going. And you got to remember, he probably has no clue that I just finished flying across the ocean twice. And long story short, is I fought him again, did really well. And then after that night, the team left on a road trip, and I stayed for a couple of days to hang out with the boss. And then he was really, really happy. And then they flew me all the way back to New York like a couple of days later. And so, yeah, that's my story. And not many guys have ever flown from Russia to New York, back to Russia, back to New York in probably 3 days. But they gave me a really hefty bonus, so it was well worth it.
Awesome. Well, that's crazy. Like by the time you're fighting Grattan twice, you're like 40 hours without sleep. You fainted. And now you're fighting this guy twice, so you can get kicked out of the game, and then oh my God, that's insane.
That's why it doesn't when you watch the fight on TV or on YouTube, it does no justice to think the whole backstory behind it. It's like it's
we'll watch that with the backstory in mind, and that'll be awesome. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's get to Shoresy. This is incredible. How'd you end up getting casted for it? And tell us, it's a crazy show. It's funny and very politically incorrect, but very funny show.
We like political. I love politically incorrect, so that's good. But No, it was a pretty cool opportunity. It was, like I said, I was in leadership on Flying Dust, and our emails are made public at the office, just on the website. So I get a lot of fan mail once in a while. People send me stuff or email because they can look me up on the website and see my contact information. But I had received an email from, I say some lady, but she's actually a big deal. Her name's Kara Halfenson. She's one of the producers of the show. But she had emailed me just saying, Jared Keeso was a huge hockey fan, huge hockey fight fan. So he was a big follower of myself. And, she'd like me to be some part of some TV show she just said Letterkenny. And, at first I read this email and I was kind of like, I'm, 38 or 39 at the time, a retired hockey player. Who the hell wants me to act? This has got to be a joke. So, But I responded back and I said, yeah, I'd be interested. Let me talk to my wife and stuff. And so I went home that night and told my wife about this email I received, and we YouTubed Letterkenny. And I just remember thinking, geez, this is kind of the dumbest show I've ever seen. Just because you said, it's actually, I turn around, people love it. It's just, I'm the kind of guy, you got to know my lifestyle, my personality. I'm a farm boy that lives outside all day, and I don't watch TV really other than Sportsnet and the news. But, long story short, I remember going to a couple, my wife was having there's a nursing party because she's a nurse. And so we were at this house, and I remember telling a couple of these other guys, I said, yeah, some show called Letterkenny called me. And those guys' eyes opened up so big. They're like, you're going to be on Letterkenny? He says, come here, I got to show you something. So we went into his living room, and the guy had every single DVD of Letterkenny. And I'm like, oh, I've never heard of it before. So, but at this point, I didn't even respond to her. So the next day I wrote back and said, yeah, I'd be interested. Let me know what I got to do. But then that day I left on vacation, or the next day or whatever. And when I'm on vacation, we go to California lots because that's where my wife's from. And I don't really I kind of have a rule that I don't check my work email because I'm on vacation. So I didn't look at my email for the whole 2 or 3 weeks that I was gone. And when I got back, I had missed an email because she had said, you need to send in a little cameo of yourself, by this date. And I obviously missed that date. So I wrote her back and just said, I'm really sorry that I missed the deadline. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a great day. And within 5 minutes, she wrote back. She goes, "No, Jared wants you. You're coming. So can you be on a plane?" And so that's basically how I got my foot on the door. And was it 4 or 5 years later, where it's one of the top TV shows watched on live streaming. And so it's been a great opportunity. We do a lot of traveling. We do. It's called a Shoresy Fall Classic, which we did. The first one was last fall. We're going to be doing it again this fall, where we're traveling to NHL cities and playing their alumni teams.
Wow.
You could probably find online. Me and Darren McCarty fought last year. It's obviously a fake fight. It's funny, you read online and people are saying, "Oh, that's so fake." And well, no shit, it's fake. It was a charity game. But there it is. There it is, right there. Yeah. But no, it was a great turnout. I mean, every show was sold out. The after parties were packed. It was a really big success, and obviously it was a successful because we're doing it again this fall. There's even talk of us possibly going to Australia. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's opened up so many doors for myself, and I guess just another chapter in my book that I'll be able to talk about.
Well, yeah, you're one of the 3 gyms, along with, of course, with Jordan, Brandon, Nolan, as you mentioned earlier. We have a clip for the show where the 3 gyms are being introduced. Let's run a little bit of that, Vic.
All right. So y'all 3 want to be Jim.
Our names are Jim.
Yeah, I know your names are Jim, but okay, so how about your Jimmer, your Jimmy, your Jim Bob? So then y'all get to be some version of Jim, and we don't got to be in tats.
Our names are Jim.
Bah, je pense que c'est pas ma claque alors non, c'est Jim. Hein?
All right, you're all 3 Jim. That's it, that's all.
You ever have a Slim Jim?
Well, you may as well all go down to the coast when you're done work and have a little beer with the boys, and who knows, maybe we'll throw on some f***ing Les Miserables for Hitch. Hey, Hitch?
So, I mean, Jared, the principal, he's quite a character. Must be a blast to work with. And, this is, tell us about the acting transformation for you.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Jared. I mean, what a wonderful guy, so humble, a genius at what he does. He really definitely knows what he's doing, and the whole team that he brings together, everyone works well together. as far as acting goes, I know he was criticized a lot for bringing a bunch of hockey guys to make them actors, right? But his theory was, I can teach hockey players to act, but it's a lot harder to teach actors to play hockey. So he really leans on us too to give advice and tips on hockey, to make it a real hockey show, which is pretty cool. He really wants to succeed, and obviously he does. So can't say enough about the guys. It's like a hockey team. We have our little cliques and we all hang out. The Nolans and I are a lot older than the other guys, and they're younger and like to party and go have fun, which is awesome. But we get to hang out lots, and it's like playing hockey. It basically helps me with my withdrawals from not playing pro anymore, because we travel there for 5-6 weeks. We live in hotels. We go for dinner every night. We hang out. We have to get there's times where we have to be up at 4 or 5 in the morning to do a scene, and so we just work really well together, and it's been a great experience. And not even the cast, but the crew behind us, right? The people behind the scenes are just so wonderful and treat us so well and make things so easy there. So the transition actually hasn't been that hard, and makes it a lot easier that I have some limited lines where I just have to go, yeah. But it's a blast. It's a whole new experience for myself, right? And again, without hockey, I would have never got that opportunity. So, I can't thank Jared Kiesel enough. Can't thank Carol Halflinson enough. It's very wonderful people and very passionate about what they do.
My name's Jim.
Yeah.
Our names are Jim. Yeah. So, okay, there's something, a video went viral recently. Crazy. I want to get your comments on this. The crazy golf course scrap that blew up on the internet, of course. What are your thoughts when you see this? This is a former NHL enforcer, I guess, enforcer like yourself, Nick Tarnasky. And what do you think when you when you saw this?
That's actually my line mate in Russia. I seen
no
that
way.
Video before. I seen that video before anyone did. He sent it to me about 2 weeks ago. He goes, "John," he says, "you're gonna love this," and he sent it to me, and I'm like, I didn't really know what it was, and I haven't seen Nick in about 13 years, so I didn't know who the big guy that was throwing the punches was in us, because Nick, they're making, it's kind of funny. I think the media is portraying him to be this big enforcer, but Nick was more of a skilled thing. He was he was more of a grinder than he was an enforcer, and but I didn't know what to tell him. I'm like, well, shit, is that him? Or I didn't want to offend him because he's put on a lot of weight there.
He's big, yeah.
But it was funny, and I didn't at that point. I'm like, man, I said, he probably doesn't want this to go public, so I didn't send it to anyone. And I'm thinking maybe this will go under the wraps, and then the next day it's on every damn news story and Facebook and Instagram, and every single guy sharing it. So it went pretty viral for him. But you watch the video, the guy was being drunk, the guy was being an idiot. I guess to his defense, we all have had those days. It just looks unfortunate that it got videotaped and put on pretty much on the national spotlight. So, but from what I've seen, the guy owned up to his mistakes, and you watch the video. I don't think Nick did anything wrong. Think if it was someone else like me, I probably would have been a lot meaner. But so kudos to Nick for controlling himself, and anyone that really wants to put Nick down about doing that is crazy. I mean, the guy was being a retard on the golf course, and someone had to put him in his place. So I think Nick did a good job.
Well, and there's no question the guy was out of line. I mean, it was a bad choice, really bad choice of actions right there at that particular time. But kudos for, as you mentioned, the guy stood up the next day and he's on broadcast and said, "Yeah, I was an idiot." But where did Nick learn the bang?
You don't know how many guys I've had write me. They said, "Hey, bro, when you fought, did you make those noises too?" And I'm like, I start laughing, but I don't know. It makes the video a lot more fun, and good on Nick. I see even Violent Gentleman made a shirt for him up. That's pretty cool. So he's going to make the best of the opportunity.
Yeah, somebody said that he might lose his coaching job as a result of this. But I mean, really, who put yourself in those circumstances? The guy wanted to be tuned in. He needed to be tuned in.
And I think that's the kind of coach that I'd want leading my kid. Someone that's going to stand up for what's right. So I think they'd be making a big loss if they do decide to let him go. I don't think it'll come down to that, but in today's world, we're a soft world, and you can't offend anybody anymore. So it's best to just stay in a house and don't show your face to anyone.
Well, yeah, if you want to, keep from getting into trouble, but sometimes you got to make a stand, and I think that's what he did, really. And if he does happen to lose his job, I'm sure there'll be lots of teams calling. Nick, we want you to coach our team.
Yeah,
right?
I hope so. I know, like I said, he's a good guy, and I hope nothing but the best for him.
Yeah, so I got one final question here. So we're partnered with a group called Believe, Become, Be You. It's a mentorship program for kids 10 to 17. Inspired by the late Sean Gindy and led by Papa Jack Gindy. What's a message you might have for any kids who are struggling to find their way in today's world?
Life's not fair. I've learned that the hard way, and take every opportunity that comes. Just don't be afraid to take it. That's, there's, if you say no, you'll never know what that could have been, and work hard. You're going to go through ups and downs. I always say life's a roller coaster, and one day I could be up here and the next day I'm down here. So just keep pushing forward. Life's a battle, but it's a pretty cool thing to live out and just chase your dreams. I'm gonna die chasing dreams. I know that because that's what happened.
Right.
Like I went through some rough times in depression and stuff with the Tim Hortons, and it was when I achieved all my goals and I had nothing to chase anymore. That's when I got bored and I kind of lost my direction. Right. So now, even today, when I'm 43, I'm still chasing dreams, and I'm going to chase dreams to the day I die. And that's what helps me.
Right on. Yeah. I'm 68, still chasing dreams, baby. It's good.
Right on.
And Shoresy, what a great show. Watch it. Catch John Nasty Mirasty and Shoresy. And it's been very enjoyable having you on, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Thank you, John. So when we come back, former NHL great Reggie Leach talks about turning his life around. In 1992, the best locally owned restoration companies came together with one goal: to make disaster recovery better for Canadians. And to this day, DKI remains one of the only 100% Canadian-owned disaster restoration groups in the market. Fire, flood, or storm damage. When things go wrong, the right help makes all the difference. With the right tools and local expertise, we handle everything from emergency response to full-scale restoration, getting homes and businesses back on track the right way. Because a home is more than four walls. A business is more than a building, and recovery is about more than repairs. When you choose DKI, you're choosing a company that's put Canada first since 1992. Locally owned, nationally backed, Canadian through and through. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Hearing loss doesn't have to mean missing out. At Hear Canada, we help you take charge with a complimentary hearing assessment, because confidence starts with clarity. Discover hearing aids, accessories, and expert care at your local hearing center. Not sure where to start? Our Hearing Health Guide has the basics for you or a loved one. It worked for us. Book your free assessment today at hearcanada.com. Conditions may apply.
Come back and I actually got sick. And I end up in the hospital, and the friend of mine, Dr. Carlina, was my doctor at the time. He said, "Reg, you have two choices. You can either die or you can live." And I said, "Well," he says, "Do you want help?" I says, yes, I need, I can get you help if you want help. He says, you say you think about it, and I'll be back Monday morning. This happened Sunday morning. He comes back Monday morning, looks at me. He says, what do you think, Reg? I says, okay, I want help. I want to go in rehab. He says, don't just say it for you to get out of here. You got to mean it. And that was the first time I thought about it. I said, well, other time I tried to do stuff before, when I made up my mind to do something, I could do anything in the world. I always tell the kids that. Don't let anybody tell you can't do something unless, because you can make up your mind, use your heart and follow it. And when I went to rehab, I went in there for, I believe it was 7 weeks. And when I came back out, boy, what a life-changing thing that was, Joe. I went in there. I remember going in there, and they made me fill out this form. So me being a alcoholic and being a con artist, I put down everything I thought they would want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then at the end of it, they gave me the same questions. It was like night and day. It was completely different. But I went in there for a reason. I had a lot of friends that came in to visit me. A lot of the alumni guys came in to visit me at the time, and I really worked at it, and I got myself under control, and that was in October. I got out. I went in September 6th, 1985.
Discover the secret to timeless vitality at Renew Medical Center in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Our specialists unravel the science of aging, tailoring plans to defy its effects. Experience cutting-edge regenerative therapies such as stem cells and exosomes, addressing aging at its core.
It's a wonderful spot, and I highly recommend it for whatever you may need, whether you just want to feel better, you want to look better, have basically a quality of life, just to ramp it up a little bit as we age.
Liberate yourself from aging-related concerns, where accountability, technology, and passion for regenerative medicine converge. Begin your path to peak health and wellness with us. Schedule your appointment today at renewpv.com and elevate your quality of life.
Parents, what's the biggest fear for kids 10 to 14? A future they think they can't handle. At Believe, Become, Be You, we know confidence in the future is a habit we can build. Our course doesn't just prepare kids for the future, it seeds them with skills they will use now. For a limited time, the I Believe in Me Foundation is offering the first 1,000 kids and their parents 1 year free access. This priceless opportunity will save you over $2,000. This isn't just a course. It's a journey in developing life-enhancing skills that will grow with your child, fostering gritty minds, creative futures, and better bonds. Get signed up now at BelieveBecomeBeYou.com. That's BelieveBecomeBeYou.com.
And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian sports. A reminder that the show is available on iTunes, Breaker, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Also, check out previous shows on YouTube. All of our past great shows are on there, clips and shorts. Like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Our socials are at Joe Tilley on Instagram and Threads, and Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show on Facebook. Thanks once again to John Mirasty for being on the program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. I'm Joe Tilley, and this fall I want you to join me for the adventure of a lifetime in Peru. We're talking about a 9-day guided journey through some of the most awe-inspiring sights on Earth, starting at just $19.99. We'll explore Lima, Peru's lively capital. You'll experience rich history, beautiful architecture, and world-class cuisine. You'll also wander the vibrant streets of Cusco, where Inca heritage blends seamlessly with colonial charm, and visit the stunning Sacred Valley, known for its dramatic landscapes, ancient Inca ruins, and charming traditional villages. And the big moment? We'll ride the scenic Inca train to spend a night in Machu Picchu village, waking up early to witness a magical morning light over the ancient citadel, a once-in-a-lifetime experience you'll never forget. Craving more? Extend your trip with a stay at a luxury Amazon lodge, or visit Lake Titicaca and meet the locals on the floating islands. This all-inclusive package covers international and domestic flights, expert guided tours, entrance fees, and stays at hand-picked hotels. And here's the kicker. Book now to receive a free upgrade to first-class boutique-style hotels and a direct flight from Toronto on selected dates. Don't miss it. Let's discover the magic of Peru together. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit sleepyhollowcountryclub.com.